Alright folks, I normally don't do reaction videos like this. You've seen me do reactions to articles and emails and cracking jokes and everything, but I figured why not go over a certain video because it is what had led up to that whole Aromantic quiz video, because this is the video that pretty much opened my eyes. So it's going to be a reaction slash response, because I'm going to go over what Jaiden says about herself in this video, and I'm also going to relay my own personal experiences so people can kind of get a general understanding about all of this. Because I'm hoping that this video is going to help in a way, but you never know. Oh, let me lower my video a second. Alright, so let us get on with the video. Like I said, I'll make pauses as we go along for when I need to leave my commentary, because there's some stuff I think needs to be addressed at least on my forefront.
Okay, before you even say anything, let's lay out some ground rules. This is probably going to be the most open I'll ever get about my personal life. I know I've shared tidbits of myself in life through little stories, but when it comes to personal stuff, I'm very private.
Understandable.
Especially within the past few years. I'm going to be talking in very general.
I'll even say right off there, I don't blame her for not wanting certain stuff out there about herself, like not being public and everything, because sadly we live in a world where if people learn certain information about you, they're going to use it against you, because people don't know how to respect privacy anymore on the internet. They want to know everything about you, and next thing you know, you have those creepy people that stalk you and they try to do harm on you. And it's just that's a sad world we have to live in. How many big YouTubers do you see nowadays where their privacy is being violated because somebody wants to know every single thing? A quick example, look at H2O Delirious. He doesn't want anybody knowing stuff about his personal life other than the fact that he's got kids and a girlfriend, but yet people keep wanting to know what he looks like and everything. It's he says he doesn't want that known because he's a private person. Yet people can't respect privacy, and you're going to have people that intrude on the privacy, unfortunately.
Surface level terms, because specific personal details are for me to know, and in the nicest way possible, none of your business. Basically,
very true, she's not entitled to have to
share and bring a spotlight
open up about certain information.
At the same time, you get the Cliff Notes version. So no trying to assume or guess anything beyond what I'm sharing within this video. At the end of the day, we're all just strangers refusing to listen to the stranger danger rule. Alright, formalities aside, let's get into it. I've come to realize that I'm Aro-Ace, which stands for Aromantic Asexual.
Now, I'm glad that Jaiden also did this, because this kind of helped open my eyes about myself, because she's Aro-Ace, I'm Gray Aro-Ace. And I'll get to that in just a bit once she starts getting to the definitions of everything.
And I know what you're thinking. That's not gay. What the hell is that? And you know what? That is completely fair, because I didn't know what that was either. Aromantic and asexual are two different things, and I'm going to break them down to you separately, starting with aromantic, because no one really knows what that one is. And also, it's my personal favorite.
Yeah, not a lot of people know about the whole aromantic spectrum. A lot of people are just more aware of everything involving sexual preference, gay, lesbian, bi, stuff like that. But there's never any attention brought into the aromantic asexual spectrums. I mean, even for myself, once I made the discovery, I know it's kind of hard to see, but I bought my own rings that I bought from Etsy, one for the Grayromantic and one for the Graysexual flags. Because it takes a bit of research to go through stuff like this to kind of understand the stuff about yourself.
Someone who's aromantic is defined as a person who feels very little to no romantic attraction to anyone at all.
Yep. So, with aromantic, they're something I don't think people understand unless they do a bit of research through certain articles or maybe YouTube videos, that A for LGBTQIA+, pretty much covers anybody who's on the aromantic, asexual, or agender spectrums. And yes, there is a spectrum for aromanticism. There's a spectrum between alloromantic or alloromantic, or however it's pronounced, and aromantic. So alloromantic means that you feel the normal level of romantic attraction, feelings, stuff like that, of the average person. And then, as Jaiden just said with her definition, somebody who is aromantic typically feels little to no romantic attraction to other people in general. And then there's that spectrum, an umbrella term for different forms of aromanticism in there. So there are people that are within that area that that don't identify as either, because they're not fully on either side, but there are certain quirks, or characteristics in their ability to have romantic feelings, that put them in that spectrum. So once you get through the aromantic stuff, I'll bring up my personal story and everything.
Like, they might not develop crushes on people or feel the need to be in a romantic relationship with anyone.
More content about being alone.
But hopefully you kind of get the gist. If not, here's a little story example from me. Growing up, I never developed crushes on anyone. I remember when I was in 5th grade, kids were talking about their crushes left and right.
Bowser.
It was starting to feel like something I had to experience too, just because I thought that's just what happens. Don't make fun of 9-year-old me. I was a sheep.
I think that's also a thing that people try to force in your heads, whether it be media or like in general or social media or even family. Like, you hear so many times of people like constantly be told by their parents about like being interested in people. Why aren't you with somebody? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, get out there. Like, or you have your sexual preference questioned. Like, I've lost count how many times my sexual preference has been questioned ever since I was in middle school. Even when I had my first girlfriend, like I mentioned in a video here on this channel, I had that freaking questioned and slandered on a blogging website. Like, I've even had my family question my sexual preference just because I've been single most of the time I've been at my job. It's like, well, A, it's hard because I don't think they know about the gray romanticism stuff yet, but it's also hard to really go out and have a social life or anything when you work third shift because everybody's got the opposite schedule, and I've tried the dating services and haven't had much luck. Obviously, because nobody's really interested in somebody who works third shift unless you work the same schedule.
Anyway, I decided I needed to have a crush because that's just what happens to people. And I very robotically chose this random kid in the class who we can...
I see, doing the whole Mario Kart thing.
He didn't mean anything to me, and I didn't do anything about this crush. Like, I didn't tell anyone or anything. It was just a headcanon thing for me to feel up to speed and like I was hitting my normal human emotions quota. But it's funny, because on Valentine's Day, you know how in elementary school everyone would bring cheesy Walmart Valentine's cards for everyone in the class, and then you'd have a box full of candy and hollow emotions from everyone?
Yeah, don't remind me of Valentine's Day. No joke, like out of all the Valentine's Days I've ever had in my life, I've only had 2 ever where I've had somebody as my Valentine's Day, and that's it. I mean, I'm not going to really get into that because it kind of gets into a dark area on that.
Well, my school did that. When I went through my box, I pulled out Pikachu's Valentine and thought to myself, someone who has a crush on someone would keep this. I think.
Yeah, don't eat it. Do not eat the card.
Batman Valentine in my drawer and promptly forgot about it because it meant nothing to me, but hey, that's just what I thought I was supposed to do. Man, I'm so good at this. Then like a year or so later when my mom was going through my room, she pulled out the card and was like, why do you have this? And I was like, honestly, I have no idea. Years passed, I entered junior high and thought to myself, alright, this is the time where people start developing crushes and then do something about it. Like get into relationships or something. So
yeah, because that's typically usually around the time when people start hitting puberty and everything. They start to realize a little bit that, hey, I might be interested in other people, but then again, they're also not fully sure about themselves, because usually when somebody is like going through like junior high and high school and everything, they're more focused on just trying to get through life, maybe have some crushes and everything, but they're not really trying to figure out who they are or what they're interested in just yet. Some people figure that out, but that's not like a top priority, at least from what I experienced back in middle school.
I was like preparing to be interested in people. On the first day of school, I scoped out the room to see if there was anyone that I thought looked like someone I could develop a crush on. And this was when classes started being divided up into periods, so there were like 6 batches of people I sifted through. But no one caught my eye, and I thought, man, unlucky. Went through the whole school year, next year rolled around, classes changed, I did the same potentials crush scoping again, and the same thing happened. I wasn't drawn to anyone at all. Man, unlucky again. Every year,
Poor Helmet.
something would change, especially going into high school when people started actually hitting puberty and were getting conventionally attractive. But my
You went to school with Sasuke?
Kindergarten to senior year, which I'm pretty sure is like 13 years. I wasn't interested in a single person throughout any of it.
Now, this is also where I wanted to also get into a bit of my thing, because I mentioned this on Facebook. I tried to post it on Instagram, but I can't post everything in a single post because of character limits. Even when I was in high school, outside of that one relationship that I was in, because by the time, around this time this video is probably coming out, it's been a while since I've been in a relationship with somebody who lives in the same state as me. In fact, the end of September will mark 15 years since the only relationship I've had with somebody and lives in the state ended for good. Like, I tried the dating services and found no luck. Flat out across the board. But it's like, even when I was in high school, I only found myself having a crush on like 3 women, and that was it. Throughout the entire time in high school, and of course I got rejected by all of them. And even since I graduated high school, even when I'm on the dating services, I rarely ever find myself being attracted to anybody. Like, I could go through like freaking Tinder and probably go swipe left on pretty much everybody because absolutely nobody's catching my attention. Like, whether it be Tinder, Plenty Fish, OkCupid, like, I noticed that even when I did the dating services last time, and even since I came back to them around mid to late April. It's like, I would get frustrated myself because I'm like looking at these apps and I'm just like, nobody's catching my attention. Nope. And I would get pissed off because I keep thinking it's the app. It's like, why aren't you showing me anybody I'm interested in? But I mean, but then eventually more self-reflection took into play because apps can only do so much.
And what's funny was I was thinking, man, what's the deal? Why is no one attractive? And I went to a big...
Like I just said.
3,500 students there. Surely I am not the outlier in this formula. Why are none of you attractive? When I was going to college, I really felt like I had to find someone.
That's something you gotta appreciate with Jaiden. Her adding her own sense of humor, like, right into the videos. Makes things more relatable, more entertaining, rather than just a straightforward story. Add a twist into there, make it a little more fun.
It felt like I was falling behind the curve, or if I was gonna find someone, it was gonna have to happen now. I made a lot of new friends, and that...
I think that also has to do with, like, everybody putting too much pressure on other people. Like, so much focus in society nowadays is making sure, like, letting people know about being in relationships, being happy, having a future and everything. It's like, not everybody's interested or has the luck to find somebody. Like, even for myself, I don't even see myself ever getting married, simply because I just don't see it happening. Maybe it's because I'm just rarely ever interested in anybody, or because I've been single most of the time I've been at my job, which has been almost 9 years. But it's just the way it is. Every time I keep having the concept of marriage brought up, I roll my eyes and I'm just like, ugh, quit shoving this down my throat, I'm not interested. It's all about preference.
That's when I thought I developed my first genuine crush. Long story short, in hindsight, no,
Right,
it
you.
wasn't a crush, and I was just wrong. I just met someone who I thought was cool and funny and had a really strong desire to be close to them. But looking back, knowing what I do now, it wasn't in a romantic way. I realized I can...
I think a lot of us have those kind of things where you self-reflect and realize, yeah, really wasn't what I thought it was in terms of how you felt about something. It always takes self-reflection to realize that.
Get very excited and tunnel vision on people I think are really cool or interesting, and kind of obsess over getting to know them or just want to spend a lot of time with them. But whenever I got into those tunnel vision moments, if I sat down and asked myself if I actually wanted to be in a relationship with them and hold hands or cuddle or kiss, the answer was not really.
Yeah, I also get that even even on the dating service, or even if I go in public, like let's say a grocery store or anything like that, I can look around and see people and I'm just like, nah, like don't really feel anything for anybody that I see. Just be like, nah, person, nah. Like no real image in my mind of anything ever happening, because like there's just no desire there. I think that's kind of the thing you have to break down for when it comes to being interested in somebody. It's like, can I see something ever happening? I guess it's kind of what it comes down to.
But if they wanted to, I could go along with it, which I do not think is right. In my very old flirting video, which I refuse to rewatch, I think at one point in it I said something along the lines of, if you're interested in someone but they just want to be friends, I don't understand why some people can't deal with that. And that was primarily because I didn't realize there was an emotional difference between a crush or falling in love and just being really good friends with someone.
An extra layer.
So, oops. Sorry for the bad take, I think. I really just thought having a crush on
Right into the
someone
volcano.
to be their number one best friend. Look, I said don't make fun of me. To me, it used to feel like if I was
That would be a nice hat to have.
friends with someone to that high of a degree, that would be the next step, or justify why I wanted to put this much time, effort, and energy into one person. And it didn't feel right or even fair going through all of this with someone and then tell them they're just a friend. I don't know, it just didn't feel like it made sense, even though I really didn't technically see them in a romantic way. I just didn't understand what was going on really, or that there was supposed to be real emotions instead of a logical understanding of...
Yeah, that kind of sounds like feeling alienated in terms of understanding the things. Like, even for me, like, being on the Grayromantic spectrum, or Grayromantic, which is on the Aromantic spectrum. The general feelings, like some of the definitions that kind of fit in there, like you don't feel romantic attraction that often, so it's like a pretty rare thing. I don't get why I'm sweating. I mean, I should understand. It's freaking summer. You don't feel romantic attraction that often, that strongly. You kind of feel alienated in terms of romance, and I guess it also kind of fits a bit with aromanticism. Like you're trying to process it, and you can't really wrap your head around it because it's just like it's not clicking. And that easily fits for me for like aromanticism, for grayromanticism and graysexuality. And I'll get to the graysexuality part when she gets to the asexual part of her video.
Steps. And the fact that I was under the assumption that I was supposed to be interested in people in a romantic way didn't help with anything.
Yeah, because of pressure, people trying to shove that in your mind that it's supposed to be a big priority.
That we would just start drifting apart, which I obviously didn't want either. It's been a very long journey discovering this about myself. Everything I'm saying has all been extremely subconscious and not understood or defined for many years. I even used to think I was bi or pan for the longest time because I would think to myself, well, bi is being interested in both genders. I don't really care for either, but 0 is equal to 0, so I guess I'm bi or pan. I got math involved. If I knew what aromanticism was when I was growing up, things would have been a lot less complicated for me a lot sooner.
I think a lot of people also have that mindset. It's like if they knew what stuff was prior, probably would have made them more content of who they are. Because like it took me till now being 30 to finally realize this about myself. Because it's like it's all about knowing what the stuff is and knowing what you want to be able to come to terms with things. But then you also have the people that try to down talk stuff like this because they have their beliefs. It's like, oh, this is wrong, everything. It's just like, none of this stuff is wrong. Like, being within the community, like, just because of your sexual or romantic orientation or sexual preference, it's just like, let people live their lives. It's not your job to dictate what is and it's not right in life just because you can't, because you don't conform to that or fully understand it. It's just like, let people live their lives for who they are. Don't try to condemn somebody for like how they live. I mean, if it's not illegal, it's not a problem. If somebody's aromantic, that's who they are. If they're gay, that's who they are. Bi, transgender, whatever, that's who they are. Shouldn't be condemned. Because like we need to start encouraging people to be themselves as long as it's not illegal. And plus, like I said, we're in a first world country. It's not illegal to be part of the community on any turn in any way whatsoever. People should just be accepted for who they are and encouraged to be themselves. Because otherwise, people are not going to be happy if they're just being discouraged from being who they truly are and just being open about it. We don't need people like constantly living miserable lives because they're being told to suppress how they feel or just talking about their experiences. We need more people talk about these experiences and everything because there could be people that have not stumbled across videos like these that are trying to figure out who they are themselves, and they hear about these experiences, like videos like this or maybe some stuff I'm saying, and they can come to terms with who they are and feel more comfortable about it. Because sometimes it takes hearing other people's experiences to finally click in their head saying, oh yeah, this makes sense, this relates to me. We need more of this.
I think it's mainly because people don't really talk about it or even know what it is or that it's real.
Yeah, because again, aromanticism and asexuality are not really talked about compared to sexual preference. To everybody.
Listening to some generic romance song on the radio, you know, like all of them, and I just suddenly thought to myself, wait, do people actually feel these things towards each other? Like all these mushy lyrics are real emotions? They're not joking? And that's when I started to feel like
yeah, I don't understand how any of those love songs can work either. Like, oh, I love you, hey. Like, very rarely do I ever hear a song and think, okay, this is a fine one. Other ones are just like, okay, it feels a little overboard. It's just whatever. Like, let's talk about sex, baby. I can't relate to that. Doy.
Something was different. I approached romance under the blanket term thought of, sure, why not? And didn't recognize it was actually a feeling, which might sound stupid, but look, I don't know. No one presented me with any other options. I did a lot of rationalizing. If someone ever expressed romantic interest in me, I would mentally make a kind of logical list of their pros and cons and the pros and cons of what a relationship would look like with them based on what what I knew about them as a person. I didn't
Not the best
realize
thing.
there was supposed to be an extra, like, excited feeling, or the fact that you're not supposed to think about it as if it were a business exchange.
Yep, because romanticism and feelings and everything aren't factors in business deals.
At the end of the day, it's still, apparently, still a very emotionally driven thing. And I literally had to make that discovery and teach it to myself. Now, I'm going to talk about being asexual very briefly. And
I want to have some fun real quick. I'm going to shoot that guy from far
Oh,
away.
why?
Quick. I'm going to shoot him from far away real quick.
And I'm gonna preface it with, let's all just be mature about this, alright? We're all pretending to be adults here. I've got my eye on some of you. Behave! Okay, this is definitely treading into uncomfortable personal boundary territory for me, but yeah, I do want to share that I'm asexual too, which is defined as someone who feels little to no intimate attraction to anyone.
Yeah, now this... I was just wanting to finally wait for this part. Graysexual, because I got the flag here. Even for me, even for somebody who has no idea what intimacy is like, I'm pretty much missing out on everything, because again, hardly had anything ever happen with anybody who lives in the state, because like one relationship that ended 15 years ago, nobody really had been interested in me ever since then. Like, I've never even heard of anybody being interested in me when I was in high school. Very rarely, even when I look past relationships, I rarely ever think to myself, is this somebody I could have something happen with? In terms of, like, you know. And at this point, I could only think of, like, maybe 2 women, but now it's down to 1 because of what happened with the last one, of anything ever happening. Anybody else, I'm just like, nah, I can't see it happening. Nope. And again, I don't feel that even in public. I can't go to a public place and think to myself, oh, I do that. It's just not there. And I was even taking some quizzes. After I did the quiz video about aromanticism, I did one about the sexual orientation part, like the asexuality spectrum, and I had some different results. One saying ace flux, but then again, that doesn't make sense. There was coesexual, or it's spelled Q-U-O-I and then sexual, that the first 4 letters, I can't remember how to pronounce it properly, I probably screwed it up, but it's like the French term for what? That's somebody who does not truly know their mindset on sexuality, but it's hard for me to truly be able to define as that, because it's hard to know your mindset on something you have no experience with. Like, you can't say that you know how you feel about a food you've never eaten or a movie you've never seen. So it's hard to know what my mindset is regarding this, like sexuality in general or intimacy, if I've never experienced it. And then so it's like most other quizzes, they kept saying that you're probably graysexual, which made the most sense, but I also saw some that kept saying demisexual, but the reason I don't think that's accurate is because for demisexuality, it pretty much means you don't develop sexual attraction to somebody until you developed an emotional close bond with them first. So like, you have some people, like normal person, they could probably go up to somebody and be like, yeah, like try to get in their pants and everything, like within a public setting as soon as they see them. But with demisexuality, you have to be close, develop a bond, and once you're close enough, then you develop the sexual attraction. So it's a step-by-step process. And for me, after what happened with the last relationship that's confirmed not to be true, because messages and photos and videos were sent before the relationship even began, before we even knew each other, got close. So it's just like that. Once I reflected on that with how that relationship happened, I was like, yeah, that doesn't feel accurate enough. So it's just like, it feels like the gray sexual thing seems the most accurate, because like, do I watch X-rated content? Yeah, sometimes. It's not a habit. Do I self-gratify? Yeah, the only thing I got. But it's just like, in terms of like seeing or feeling anybody, I just rarely ever feel that need to just be up and be like, oh yeah, like full intimacy mode. English, man. I freaking live in America, god dang it. So it's just like, it's not really there that often. Sometimes it might be there, like if I'm in a certain mood, but it's not like always like a go-to desire. You know?
Look, I know we said we're all adults, but I'm still gonna dance around the vocabulary, alright? Yes, there's a difference between romantic and intimate attraction. Little side note, I will say you can experience romantic attraction to someone but no intimate attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can
So
experience
asexuality,
intimate attraction but no romantic attraction.
aromanticism,
If you want and not the other, it's not necessarily a package deal. Most people feel both,
Allo?
but I do not feel either.
A side.
I have never been magnetically attracted to the look or shape of a single person in my entire life, and did not realize it was a real thing until very recently. I'm able to identify when someone looks conventionally attractive, like by
I think we all kind of do.
definition, but I never realized people are genuinely drawn to people they think are attractive. I didn't know that people could just see someone and be like, wow, they're gorgeous. I would love to get to know that person, or maybe go on a date with them.
Yeah, I've never even felt that. I've never been like, oh yeah, like a drooling type of phase. Like, or fantasizing about somebody. Like, I don't understand how people can do that. Like, being like, look at somebody like, oh, like, chase after them almost like a celebrity or anything like that.
Or whatever else you people do. I didn't think it was real. I thought people were exaggerating or something. I don't know. And I also couldn't believe that some people feel that with multiple people. Or like celebrities.
Yeah, the celebrity thing that I just mentioned is what throws me off. It's like, how can people try to pursue celebrities? Like, I talked about this on my podcast on the main channel, when how wrestling fans are towards wrestlers and everything, where they drool over them. Then if some news breaks about a wrestler, like they're pregnant or they have a significant other, people get pissed. It's like it almost feels like people are desensitized in terms of what's acceptable and what's reality. It's like, do people really think you have a chance with celebrities at this point? Do you think they're going to walk down the street and be like, oh yeah, and then bring you to a hotel room? And it just feels like a fantasy world at this point.
Which sounds absolutely exhausting. It ties back to when I was in school, like looking around for people to like. It makes sense now that no one caught my eye, because that doesn't happen to me. I was just wasting my time for 13 years. I feel like such a fool. Now, there's an easy assumption to make about asexual people, and that they all have zero interest in being intimate with anyone at all.
Yeah, and again, like she gave that definition, it's all about little to no. So anybody who's asexual, they're not completely devoid of any sexual like interactions. It's just rarely ever, extremely rarely ever there. And it's the same thing with the aromanticism side. They're not completely devoid, it's just extremely, like, very little to none. Like, there can be some level, but it's like not a big level compared to the other side, like the Aromantic and Asexual.
Which actually isn't true. Some of them are genuinely turned off by it, and some aren't. Some reasons would be that they just don't mind it, or they want to make their partner happy, or enjoy the emotional closeness of it. There's a million different reasons and a million different people. Am I sharing what kind of a people I am? Nope. And you don't know me personally enough in the slightest to be able to try and parasocially analyze where I stand on that spectrum. I'm just here to say I am this. We are moving on. When I stumbled onto the term aro ace and started realizing I fall into that category, it helped me feel much more confident and sure of myself. I've read a lot about how people say they felt broken or that something was wrong with them, but honestly, I was the complete opposite.
I even did that recently, like trying to do research within the LGBT subreddit myself, like seeing other people's experiences, and I've even been doing this even after since I came to terms with being Grayromantic and Graysexual. It's like before I realized I was Graysexual, I made a post like asking for kind of advice or like insight, because it's like I was trying to figure this stuff out myself too. So it's just like it can help like looking at other people's experiences and kind of self-reflecting, because like it takes more than just having it's going to take more than having no knowledge or information or anything to figure this stuff out. You have to have other people's stories to figure this stuff about yourself too.
Coming from my very biased perspective, I think aro ace is one of, if not the coolest and most confident orientations out there. Not needing a single gram of romantic or intimate validation from anyone is so cool. All you need is yourself to be happy, maybe friends and family too, and birds. The more I came to terms with the fact I'm aro ace.
And like that whole thing, it probably also varies on the person. Excuse me. Like some people are content with not having relationships. Some might kind of feel alone a little bit. Because like I've had times where I just keep feeling lonely. But it's just like I think the last relationship I was in and this whole recent discovery everything kind of opened my eyes on all this. Because it's like I'm not the type of person like that says I need this, like I need somebody by my side. Like if I need a distraction from anything, from being alone, I'll just go into video games. Like that's my own escape from like if something's on my mind. I don't need another person to just be there, hold my hand, or try to dump information on. I can just be out here and get lost in my own world and mind my own business.
The more empowered and capable I felt.
And that is a good shirt.
At the same time, I was also starting to feel more alone and isolated. As cool and amazing and unique and awesome as I think it is, it can be really hard for other people to relate to or even understand. Everyone else.
Yeah, that can get a little tough. Like, even for myself, like, I don't really know anybody. I know one person, my friend Theo, who is transgender, who's on the asexual. He says he's asexual. I think he's a bit more on a spectrum, but I think that just depends on him. But I know he's on the asexual spectrum, but I don't know anybody else that is on either the asexual or aromantic spectrums. I mean, I might know some that are on the asexual spectrums, but in terms of, like, either I don't pay attention to what people say, or I just don't know where they fall in line. Like, I got people, like, in my life that are all over the LGBTQIA plus community in different forms, but it's just like, even in the wrestling community, I barely know of anybody that's in there, but I personally don't know of anybody who's, like, on the same spectrums that I am, whether they be the same definition or at least within the area. So, I mean, like, it can feel a little long because you don't have somebody else that you at least know right away that identifies the same way, so it can be kind of lonely, but at some point maybe you want to find somebody that you can relate to, so it's like, hey, we can bond over this, or you just don't really care after a while.
Else in their orientations are able to bond and relate to the love and romance aspects, and we're over here like, we don't do that. I don't even know if I'm
It's like a club.
Well, it kind of does go against everything everyone's ever been taught about anything. Romance is taught to be a basic assumed emotion, which I do think is a bit misleading. A common argument used against the aroace orientation is that romance and intimacy is what makes someone human. But
No, it doesn't.
I don't know, lots of birds made for life, which is a better ratio than people, and all animals get frisky. You know, that's just how they became not extinct. It's not an exclusive to humans thing.
Ari.
If I were to guess, I would assume the thing that makes someone human is basic empathy. Like, I'm not an
Bingo.
emotionalist monster. I can still love people. I love my family and my pets, just platonically. And I would hope that you're the same. I just don't experience romantic love, which, I don't know, I don't think that's harming anyone. Definitely not me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I've even seen some videos where people are saying, like, people are getting mad at Jaiden for opening up about this. So, like, why get mad at her for opening up about this? She's talking about her experience, and who knows how many people that she helped with this video. Like, come to terms with who they are and being able to realize that, hey, there are other people that also feel the same way she does in terms of aromanticism and asexuality. It's actually a good thing. We need more stories like this so people who are struggling to figure out who they are themselves, like with stuff like this, can realize that they're not alone, and they can discover who they are. It's not a bad thing to teach stuff like this. But then you got the religious nutcases who try to say, oh, this is wrong, oh, you're trying to force it on kids. It's like, if you got a problem with kids seeing stuff like this, like, don't let them freaking watch it. Like, set some kind of parental controls over what content they should or should not see. It's not up to the uploader to stop your children from seeing something that you don't agree with. That's on you. It's just like when parents get pissed off that their kid hears a foul word said on freaking voice chat on, like, for Xbox. It's like, hey, it's your fault that you're letting a kid play an adult video game, so expect adult language. Otherwise, if you don't like it, control your kid and what they get exposed to.
I'm having the time of my life. I don't think you need to be in a relationship to be happy. And if you don't want to be just on your own, I think there's many types of people in relationships that push the boundaries of what a conventional relationship looks like. Telling someone that they...
And plus, you can always go through, like, some of the dating services just looking for friends, or maybe go through some, like, the LGBT subreddit and everything and find people that also... that you can kind of bond with that have the same orientations as yourself, because there are people out there that probably want to make friends that they can relate to because they have the same thing, like, that are bisexual or transgender or pansexual, gender fluid, non-binary, so on and so forth. I'm sure there are people that you can find on websites like that or other basic social media where they can connect. Like, you're probably going to find an easier time finding somebody that you can bond with on that kind of level on social media rather than in real life, because you never know who you're going to find out there. Probably going to be more normal people than any Well, by normal people, I mean people that aren't in the... Let me word that properly. In terms of average people, you're going to find more average people compared to people that are in the community, unless they're just closeted and they don't make it obvious that they're in the community in the first place. You're going to find a lot of more average people compared to anything else out there that aren't like with a certain sexual preference or sexual orientation, romantic orientation, etc. Careful with the wording there, boy.
You need to be in a romantic relationship to be happy and fulfilled is...
Not everybody needs it.
And then when that person says they're not happy, they're told relationships take a lot of work, and that's just how it goes. And that's also weird.
Yeah, you can't force that stuff on people.
It's weird that when someone reaches a certain age, people inherently start thinking it's sad they're not in a romantic relationship.
Yep, I kept seeing that all the time with myself. Like I said, we're even at a point, like, even with men, it's like if they're single for a long time, people judge them and think that it means that their sexual preference should be questioned. It's like, oh, they're single a long time, must mean they're gay. It's like, no. If they're single, it just means, like, either they're not looking or they're not having an easy time finding somebody and you don't know about it. It doesn't mean their sexual preference should be questioned. Like I said, I've had mine questioned ever since middle school. The day marriage equality got passed, my grandmother thought I was in the community, like, my sexual preference fit in the community. But, like, people just keep getting this misconception that if you're not, like, to question you if you're not in a relationship. Like, not everybody needs one. Not everybody wants to be in one. Like, not everybody's going to conform to the norm. Just let people live their lives and stop trying to judge them and post theories and everything. It's just, like, worry about your life. Don't, like, try to question everything about somebody else. This is their life to live. You've got your life to live. Don't try to just pry into this. You know?
Or assume they're lonely and sad. No one thinks a child is sad and lonely just because they're not in a long-term relationship. I don't know. I don't get it. And I also think I'm rambling. At the end of the day, it's all very complicated to talk about these things, especially because I don't know the feelings I'm supposed to be feeling, let alone talk about. I just know for me the terms aromantic and asexual are able to articulate things I was subconsciously feeling and thinking before I even realized I was feeling and thinking them. I don't plan on talking about this very much, if at all, ever again. I just want to play my silly little video games, maybe tell a story here or there. But I wanted to bring the orientations to the surface and try to get more representation out there, because I thought if I could help more people become more aware of this, then that would be awesome. I was confused as hell for a while and could have used something like this. It's a real thing. You don't have to feel any sort of romance or whatever to be considered a real person.
Awareness of stuff like this makes everything better. Especially when it's stuff that is not commonly known. Let people know that this type of stuff is perfectly acceptable. Let people know they're not alone if they feel this. They should not be shamed for how they feel. People themselves can only control and define their own happiness. Nobody else can tell them. Like, people need to just know that just be yourself and live your life for yourself. Don't try to change who you are or act a certain way or try to conform to somebody else's perception of stuff. Because this is your life and your happiness to pursue. Be yourself and don't change for anybody else.
Personally, I think it's really cool and badass. And don't be afraid to look more into aromanticism or asexualism.
And it's something I also encourage. Research, people. If you don't know what something is, look it up and get informed, and it'll help you get a general understanding of stuff. Yep.
Or not. Either way, this has all been my personal experience with this stuff. Is there more for me to figure out within it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. It can get pretty complicated and confusing. Haha, awesome. Will I be sharing any of that with you? No, no way. This is all you get. Hope you can understand even just a little of what I talked about. And if not, that's totally fine. I just hope you can be nice. Thanks for listening.
So that takes care of all that. Like I said, like, stuff like this needs to be shared online, and somebody should not be condemned for telling their story. Stuff like this needs to be talked about and made public and let people speak their stories, because you never know whose life you can change and improve from telling your story about stuff like this. You never know how many people are looking through, like, forum posts, like, on Reddit or whatever, or looking up videos, trying to find other people they can relate to, or trying to figure out who they are. Stuff like this makes things better. Because then people can be more can get a general understanding of who they are and not feel alone. We need stuff like this. And less condemning and hatred in the world. So, I mean, like, if there's anything anybody wants me to clarify, like, that they may have questions about, ask away in the comments section. I'll answer questions. If you want me to clarify on anything. And I'll catch you all later. Thanks for watching, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out and good day, everybody. Now my back itches.